Oh, we all live. Hello, everybody. How we all doing? Welcome to the Red Devils Experience. Couple people in the chat. Ray, how you doing? Richard, how's everybody doing? So we have live updates. These things broke a little bit ago. Erik ten Hag's job is safe for now. But there is no guarantee that he is going to continue on after the season is over, once the FA Cup final. Thomas Tuchel being heavily linked to Manchester United today through multiple reports. And there's been player transfer updates. We're going to get through all of that. Smash the like button for me if you can. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications. We're going to get straight into it. So as you can see over here on my left, David Owenstein came out, said Thomas Tuchel wants the Manchester United job. There's other sources. We're going to get into that as well that reported on this. And on top of that, early in the hours of the morning, Matt Law, who is pretty credible, he's reported numerous times on Manchester United. He reported this morning saying that Erik ten Hag is increasingly likely to be sacked at the end of this season. So, let's get straight into the Tuchel links. So here is the numerous reports about Thomas Tuchel. As you can see, different sources. Talk Sport, Chris Wheeler, who is another credible journalist, TNT Sports, even asking Thomas Tuchel on the Premier League and stuff like that. So Thomas Tuchel apparently already has a good relationship with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, which they did not go into more detail of how, but apparently that is a thing. So there's that. Then Thomas Tuchel was asked in his pre-match conference against the semifinal in the Champions League, and they asked him on a potential return to the Premier League, and he answered by saying, "I'd rather not answer, but it's no secret that I loved it at Chelsea, I loved it in England, and I loved it in the Premier League for sure." So, not mentioning Manchester United, but kind of indicating that, hey, I am kind of looking to return to the Premier League and Manchester, and I am being, linked to Manchester United. And, just saying that he loved England and he loved the Premier League, and he's pretty much indicating that, hey, if there's a job offer, I will definitely would like to return. I enjoyed England and I want to come back. On top of that, this news broke out right before the Champions League match, where it was stated that representatives for Thomas Tuchel have made it clear that he wants the Manchester United job, but there are concerns over his abrasive nature. It was then said other contenders for the United job, including Ruben Amorim, who is the sporting manager in Portugal, Graham Potter, which we all know who he is, Roberto De Zerbi, who is obviously the Brighton manager, and Thomas Frank, who is the Brentford manager. Gareth Southgate and Julian Nagelsmann will not be available until after the Euros. And then also, Talk Sport kind of following up on what Chris Wheeler was saying, that there has been initial contact between Thomas Tuchel's advisors and the MUFC hierarchy to express an interest in moving to Old Trafford. So, as of right now, the links between Manchester United and Thomas Tuchel seem to be pretty strong, because this isn't like one unknown journalist. This isn't some unknown paper trying to get clicks. This is pretty much coming from all over the place, and multiple different people are reporting this. Chat is saying, Ray is saying Erik ten Hag in one more year. Richard Hawkins saying, I don't think they will want to pay him the end of his contract. Sani saying sacking him now. This is Sani Pari from Zambia. Thank you for letting us know where you're from. Richard Hawkins, do not want Southgate, and Ray saying move the players out. Well, before we go into the next topic, which is going to have to go on to Ten Hag, I'll just put my thoughts out on this. Here is the thing. The thing is, it really seems like Ineos are set in my opinion, anyway. I don't know any more than probably the rest of you. This is just I'm formulating an opinion based off of what I'm reading, what I'm seeing. I'm trying to digest and piece all the stuff together. Bayern got defeated in the Champions League. Yes, they did. Um, it seems like to me that Ineos are set on replacing Erik ten Hag with somebody. Um, it doesn't really make sense if you're gonna keep the guy to not come out by this point and say, hey, we're backing this manager and we are going to work with him next season. They have not really done that. They keep letting these stories and these links go out, and it's probably more likely or so because they are testing the waters with these links. They are definitely talking to other managers. I would expect them to speak to other managers because it's part of the job that they have to do. They have to do it. Whether they're gonna stay with Erik ten Hag or not, they have to do it. Because we've seen in the past when Manchester United don't have a plan, correct? When they don't have backup plans like plan B, plan C, plan D, they fire a manager, they sack a manager, and they have absolutely no clue in what direction, and they have no contacts, no talks with anybody to come in and replace said manager that they decided all of a sudden that they wanted to sack, which they had no intention of sacking, but it got so bad that they had to do it, and has left the club in limbo in previous years. So Ineos, they have to do this regardless. Whether they want to continue with him into next season, it is still important to have some type of a plan B, plan C, because if they continue with Erik ten Hag, it could go all to crap within 3 months, and if they have to sack him, they have to have somebody ready to go, pretty much. It's just the way a proper club should operate. Obviously, chat's firing off here. People are saying, Richard, what are we? Ray saying move the players out. Richards, I already covered that. Uzi saying Ineos, big mistake as they sack Ten Hag. Richard is saying, we do need a player clear out, but I think the job is too big for Erik ten Hag. And Ray saying no one better than Erik ten Hag available right now. Well, that's sort of kind of the thing here. I'm not 110%. I don't really like Tuchel. I never really liked Tuchel. When he was at PSG, I didn't really have an opinion of him at Dortmund. When he was at Chelsea, he looked like he was doing something. But obviously we know how that ended, and I actually think he unfairly got sacked at Chelsea. I think the things at Chelsea went, it went kind of out of his hands, and he was always doomed to fail. And it just hasn't gone well at Bayern Munich, as you've seen this season. I mean, they lost the league. They just got knocked out of the Champions League. I have a couple. Why can't I super chat? You cannot super chat because we have not unlocked that feature yet. I appreciate that you would want to super chat. We will eventually get there. I'm building this community. It is a grind. I do not have access to unlocking super chats, but the more people that join our community, fight and interact and watch our videos, we will unlock that, and then you will be able to super chat as many other people. But for now, you can just write in the comments and I will read you out. You don't have to super chat, but thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, I was getting back to what I was saying. I think I'm trying to be even-handed here and fair. I think Thomas Tuchel does have a system. I think he does have a patent down philosophy and style of play. I think he has certain aspects to his managerial style that are good, but in terms of being the main guy, he hasn't really been all that successful. He has been successful. He won the Champions League with Chelsea, obviously, and I think he won the trophies over in the French league with PSG, although it wasn't the Champions League, and that's what they try to win. But as we can see, PSG cannot win the Champions League with any manager. So, I mean, you have to be kind of fair to that. Richard saying the problem is with Erik Ten Hag that he cannot adopt. You meant adapt or adopt, and the players he has at the moment he needs to adapt. Adapt. You meant adapt. Yeah, I think that's a fair I think that's a fair comment. Erik Ten Hag um I think Erik Ten Hag his issue is he's very stubborn. And when he formulates a plan, he sticks with that plan and he is very reluctant to change whatever his idea is of the way he thinks that things should be moving. And I think Richard is actually correct on that point, is the fact that Erik had a plan, um, but the plan is not working with the players we have available at Manchester United. And the Premier League is a very tough league. Manchester United is a very big club with huge expectations, huge pressure, huge eyes, and all that compared to Ajax and the Dutch league. And he's suffering because he is a stubborn man. That's what it is. I think he got away with a lot of that stuff at Ajax, and plus Ajax were run more properly, and we have not been. So it that all ties into each other, but it just he is suffering because of that. I mean, he said it in the interview with Gary Neville, where Gary Neville did ask him, did you ever think about changing it up and going a little bit more defensive because of the personnel that you have available? And he said that he thought about it, but he didn't want to do it because he said that it doesn't make sense to do that, to change the style, because then when the players come back and they're available to play the style that you want, he has to then change it again to go back to the style he originally wanted. So he chose to stick to the style without the personnel and try and just push through this period, but it has obviously backfired because we are playing absolutely awful and we're not getting the results. And it is what it is. Chat saying Fight is saying post Fergie, we haven't seen the third season with the manager. I'd like to see what a third season looks like. So yes, Erik Ten Hag in, please, and no problem halfway stuff. I want him in to the end of next season. Fight saying he's very stubborn because he's got no patterns and things he can rely on in the team. Ray is saying we don't have players to make a decent 11. No left back all season. Now we have no defense at all. Richard saying I want Erik Ten Hag, but neither do I want Tuchel. I think we need to go after a fairly young British manager who can build for the next 10 years. Well, fairly young British manager would probably be Southgate or or Graham Potter. I mean, I would take Eddie Howe, but he's obviously at Newcastle, and we ain't gonna get him, right? I actually like Eddie Howe, and I would take Eddie Howe, but there's no way that would happen. Not at this moment, anyway. Lyle, good to see you in here. Lyle Wilson saying after watching Tuchel bottle the UCL tonight, he should stay far from United. Yeah, I get he's gonna get that, and they did have the lead, and I'm not even fight the argument that he bottled it, but at the end of the day, also like, come on, it's Real Madrid. It's Real Madrid. It's their trophy. And Real Madrid is an absolutely unbelievable club. They are the pinnacle of all the clubs around the world. To be quite honest, they operate 110%. The most proper football club I've probably seen in my lifetime, certainly. They just seem to always do it, even when they have a period or two where they seem like they're going down or they're going in a slump. They managed to, just build something that's crazy, and it looks like we're going to that period again because, they're gonna get Mbappe, and they have a very young group of very high talented players that is going to be their next generation for the next at least 5 to 10 years. Richard saying we don't have the players for a decent 11, but the coaching staff or the medical staff are not doing their job. There's a lot of very good points here. Why take Eddie Howe when he failed with a decent system around him? Well, I think Eddie Howe. I actually think Eddie Howe is a very decently good manager. And I think Eddie Howe to I was going based off of Richard's point of something that can build for the next like 5 years or just the future. I think Eddie Howe would be able to do that. I think Eddie Howe would come in and build something and at least give us some sort of stability. Newcastle right now are pretty much going through the same thing that we're going through. Newcastle were looking pretty good up until they suffered a gajillion injuries. Obviously we have more injuries, but they're suffering a little bit similar, of what we're going through. So I actually think, like, for me, I think Eddie Howe is a better manager than, I mean, everybody's a better manager than Southgate, and I think I would take Eddie Howe over Graham Potter is what I'm saying. I'm not saying like I would take Eddie Howe overall out of like all the managers available or whatever. But I'm just saying in general. Richard Hawkins, none of them. I would now pull all the stops out to get Kieran McKenna, who knows the club and has done wonders with Ipswich. You think so, Richard? Um, because I don't know. And that it's a very big ask. It's a very big ask for Kieran McKenna. I know he's done absolutely fantastic. He's got them. He's got them. Promoted twice, 2 seasons in a row, and he's got them to the Premier League now. And I know that he's doing a very, very fantastic job. Um, but I just don't know how it would go for him. At Manchester United. Um, I don't know, to be honest. I could see it both ways. I feel like he would definitely need some time. He would definitely need to be given at least 3+ years. Which Fight I think mentioned that we really haven't gotten a manager to get a 3 full seasons. And then on top of that, the fan base has hit a point where we have sort of started to become very impatient. Obviously, I think that'll change back when we get it, like if a new manager comes in, because our fans seem to always give a big push of benefits of doubt, and they give time. They try to give time, as so long as we're being shown something or there's a plan or something like that. And the problem with where it's going wrong with Ten Hag is I think he's making very frustrating decisions. Plus, the football does not look good at all. So everybody knows the players are not good enough, but also, um, people are struggling to like listen. We understand the players aren't good enough, but it looks like we have absolutely nothing at the moment, which is puzzling and it's making people question Erik Ten Hag even further. Anyone's better than Southgate? Yeah. I mean, like, I just want that story to go away. I don't want to hear Southgate's name anymore. I really don't. I think it's absolutely crazy that he's still being mentioned for the job. I mean, there is in the next panel, which I'm going to pull up right now because it actually goes hand in hand. So here's the Ten Hag updates, right? Because there was some more updates that goes hand in hand. So here, if you look in the center, it says despite, and this was from Matt Law, same person that was reporting. He reported a couple things today. So it says despite Gareth Southgate never winning a trophy in his managerial career, he should have just stopped right there. He should have just ended it right there, because that's the only sentence you need to read before saying, yeah, there's absolutely no chance you should ever manage this club, ever. Um, but went on to say Manchester United are not believed to be prioritizing short-term managerial success if there's no longer-term project there. That also went hand in hand with the fact that he went on to say Manchester United will not pick a successor to Erik Ten Hag should the club decide to sack the Dutchman on their trophy record alone, which boosts the chances of Gareth Southgate emerging as the favorite for the post. Southgate is among the potential candidates to replace Ten Hag. Now, this was before the Tuchel links came out. So, first it was Southgate, then it switched over to Tuchel very, very heavily. And then, right before the Champions League match, Hansi Flick was then also mentioned, and Hansi Flick has expressed an interest in becoming Manchester United's next manager, and that was reported by Alex Crook and TalkSport. Now, I think Hansi Flick is actually a pretty good manager. You know, so I wouldn't be 100% against that. It seems like new candidates seem to be popping up every 2 weeks or so. I just want the Southgate thing to go away. The Brentford manager should not be linked to us. What's his name? Thomas Frank. I don't want him either. I don't think he's anywhere near it. I wouldn't want Graham Potter. I'm not in favor of Tuchel. But if they were to go with Tuchel, it's better than the other options, and I would try and get behind him and see what he does. I just don't think it would work out. Hansi Flick, I think, is a very good manager, and I wouldn't be completely against that. And who else? Did we forget anybody? And and Gareth Southgate, he doesn't even count. Chat saying, Lyle saying Southgate is better off at international level. The club game is a different beast. 100%. He's not good enough for club football. He what was it? The job? What do you have? The Middlesbrough job? You got them relegated or something? I mean, there's no team in the Premier League. I mean, besides, this is why it's kind of embarrassing and a joke. Like, and I just want the links to stop, because there's no other club in the Premier League that would be willing to give Gareth Southgate a job. And if he did take the job, like, let's say he just took like a mid-table team, job in the Premier League, he would get them relegated from the Premier League, most likely. Like, it is an absolute joke. He should not be being mentioned with Manchester United in any sort of way. And if Ineos pick him, then Ineos have lost their damn mind. And that would be like the worst decision they could possibly make. At that point, it wouldn't even make sense. Like, you're gonna sack Erik Ten Hag to bring in Southgate is absolutely ridiculous. It would be mental. That's why I don't really believe it. I just think the English media are just pushing and pushing and pushing this story because it causes an uproar, and he's British, and all that stuff or whatever. Richard saying, Ray saying, who's going to volunteer for Sunday to play? I mean, we could get one of the fans out of there at this point. Richard Hawkins. The problem with keeping Erik Ten Hag is that it won't just be another year, because we will have to extend his contract. No, he has 1 year left. Like, he would ride that year into next season, and then at the end of the season his contract would end. So after that season, then you could either just let it run out, or you can choose to extend it, but that would be a decision for that time. And I think they could do that. Richard saying Erik Ten Hag phoned me to see if I could play in defense. I said, Eric, I'm 66 and can hardly move. Eric said, that's better than what we have. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Richard saying, no Potter, Frank, and please not Southgate. I'm with you there, Richard. Ray saying, you have better passion for United than some of these players, because I actually want to read the thing that's on the left that I left out purposely, because that's kind of separate, even though it goes hand in hand. Ideal managers, the Real Madrid. Oh yeah, Carlo Ancelotti. Carlo Ancelotti is a master. He is an absolute master. He would be absolutely. I would be over the moon if we were to get Carlo Ancelotti, but it ain't gonna happen for this season. Maybe the season after. Unfortunately, the timing doesn't line up. So maybe if we keep Ten Hag and he stays for one more season, and he manages to get to like sort of the end of the season, maybe then we would be able to get Ancelotti, because I think Ancelotti's going to stay there for one more season. I don't think he's going to leave after this season. But you never know. You never know. Maybe that's why Ineos are waiting for the season to end, because when the season ends, things start popping up. Lyle saying he would love to see Richard on the pitch. Me too. I would love to see that too. I'd love to see that too. I was saying last time, I said we're so injury struck, and we are so desperate for somebody. I'll take Phil Jones back at this point. Um, just for one game, please get in there, Phil Jones. Don't get injured. Come with the pink boots, and just do something. Because we are screwed. Lie also saying exactly Southgate's tactics are non-existent. Anybody can coach an international team that is literally playing FIFA or EFC 24. Yeah, it's kind of like on automatic mode pretty much, right? Like you don't really see the players too much. You scout them. You only have to do a little bit of work here and there. Richard saying he would keep Erik Ten Hag instead of Southgate. 100%, 100%. I don't think I don't think there's one. There might be one person. There's always one person, right? I think there might be one person in the world somewhere, but he's so bad that I don't even think there's one person in the world that would say I would take Southgate over Erik Ten Hag. I don't think there's anybody saying that. Um, but this piece over here that's on your left hand side of the screen that came from Chris Wheeler. He said this, and this was in the early hours of the day. And Phil Jones has entered the chat. Phil, get on the pink boots, lace them up. We need you. We're going to play Arsenal. We're gonna get slaughtered. It's not gonna be good. We need you in there. But anyway, you see this on the left hand side of your screen. Chris Wheeler reported this in the very early hours of the day. And this actually threw me into a fury. So Manchester United are sticking with Erik Ten Hag for now, but mounting uncertainty over his future at the club is eroding the Dutchman's authority in the dressing room. Face-to-face conversations between the squad and Sir David Brailsford have centered on changing the culture at the club, leading players to assume Ten Hag no longer figures in Ratcliffe's plans. It is affecting the squad's response to the Dutchman's instructions in matches and training. I mean, that last bit there absolutely threw me into a fury. Absolutely threw me into a fury. So basically what they're saying is the players have gotten the slightest hint that Erik Ten Hag no longer has the power that he originally had when he signed his contract under the old previous regime, and they have now basically just done one of these to him. And then basically like, listen, you ain't even fully in charge anymore. These guys are running the show. We don't even need to listen to you. Your job's on the line. You're probably going to get sacked. We're more likely to be here than you're not going to be here. Screw this guy. I'm tired of his shit. They're doing it again. The players are doing it again. Just like they did it to Ralph Rangnick. They did it to Ali. They did it to Mourinho. And obviously some of them weren't here, but some of them were. And somehow that same mentality and that same toxic environment still exists. And I don't understand what we need to do to get rid of that. And Sir David Brailsford needs to be aware, and Jason Wilcox and our football director, I forgot his name, Dan Ashworth, they need to be aware. If they think that they can trust these players, they're going to find out the hard way that they cannot. If they're going to go down the path of we need to try and get the best out of these players, they're going to realize at some point that that was a giant mistake, because these players, and we know these players, they cannot do it. A leopard, is it a leopard doesn't change its spots, or tiger doesn't change its stripes? Same shit. These guys ain't changing it. It's how does it continue from manager to manager? How does it continue that certain players that have been through all 3 or 4 of those managers and this type of mentality and environment keeps carrying over? It is absolutely ridiculous that this is a thing. Absolutely ridiculous. Abede Deliso. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I suck with names, but I'm just going to call you Abebe, okay? I want Thomas Tuchel. United is better. You think so? I mean, there are a lot of people that like Tuchel. I kind of feel like I'm in the minority in terms of like the online presence. There's a lot of people that are backing Tuchel. They want Tuchel. They're hyping him up. I see it all over the internet. I kind of feel like I'm in the minority against it. They could be right, they could be wrong, I could be right, or I could be wrong. But I don't know. Time tells. And we'll see what happens. Richard saying, yeah, it says a lot about our players. I mean, I'm sick and tired of them, to be honest. And I've spoken about this before. I think the fear we have, and it's a valid fear because it's happened too many times. But I think a fear that a lot of Manchester United fans have is that we are afraid that if they sack the manager, the players are going to be let off the hook. And I would expect Ineos and Omar Barada and everybody else that's part of this new regime. It will be the biggest indication of how smart and how proper of business they're going to do. Because let's say they sack Erik ten Hag. If they sack Erik ten Hag and they remove 8 players, 8 plus, whatever, right? And maybe they make one or two big statements removing like a big player. Like maybe they decide to move on Marcus Rashford or something like that, right? If they do that, then that's okay. That will give me confidence in them. If they sack Erik ten Hag and they don't remove any of the players, or they remove a bare minimum of players, then I'm not gonna feel so confident in them anymore, because it's like they're gonna go down the same path that the previous regime was doing, where they were basically taking the player side and not you know it basically all falls under the manager, and the players just get their hands cleaned, and it's like they had no responsibility in anything that ever happened. Fight saying controversial take. Oh, we like the controversial take. Spicy takes here. Controversial take, but right now I take Erik ten Hag over Jose, solely because I know ten Hag is willing to stay 3+ years. I mean, if you're talking about Mourinho, yeah, Mourinho ain't coming back. That's just, he might want to come back, but they ain't looking for him to come back. That's not gonna happen. Richard saying, I do feel sorry for Erik ten Hag, and I think the club should back or sack. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why the speculation keeps growing, and it's sort of a problem, because it's like it there's no narrative actually coming out of the club. There's no direction. They're just letting the stories run wild, which leads me to believe that they're sort of doing it on purpose. Because I think, for me, the only thing that really makes sense as to why they won't do it is, one, they either really don't know, they don't have a clue, and they haven't actually made a decision, and they're just taking their time and weighing up their options, which could be very plausible. The more sinister one in me, the more darker view, is that they are putting out all these different stories of different managers to see which one how the fans are reacting to certain managers. And they're taking that into account into the decision they're going to make on the person that they're going to hire. For example, nobody wants Southgate. They might really want Southgate. But if it's like 99% of the fan base is like, there is absolutely no way in hell you can get Southgate. If you get Southgate, like, I'm not even going to watch a game. I'm not going to support the club till the guy is gone. Like, all that stuff. Then they're really going to, think like 3 times before hiring Gareth Southgate. Whereas, like, then there's like, oh, let's put out a story about Tuchel. Oh, well, like, Tuchel was our second option. But Tuchel is getting very positive remarks by a large portion of the fan base online. So this angle might work for us if we go with him. And that's something that I think is maybe happening. It has to be one or the other for me. That's just how I see it right now. Chat saying, Richard saying, he's agreeing with Fight here. I think Jose thing is done, and I agree you can't go back. Yeah, 100%. That's just Jose's looking for a job, you know what I mean? Lyle saying Erik ten Hag has that special potential to become good and stay here for a while. I feel the real test will be under a proper structure. If he fails, then so be it. But he deserves a chance with Ineos. Yeah, I don't even necessarily disagree. The problem with that is, or playing a little bit of a devil's advocate here, is the fact that, see, my thing is Sir David Brailsford. If you ever listen to this guy speak, and I've listened to him speak, um, before he was appointed at Manchester United, when he was doing like the whole cycling thing. If you ever listen to any of his interviews, there is one specific interview that kind of worried me, but I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because I was like, maybe he doesn't carry this over. But the problem is that he said, um, they implemented something for the cyclists that they had, right? And it was something more of like they gave the cyclists more freedom and they catered more to the cyclists themselves than the actual coaches for the cycling team. And he said in that interview that in the beginning, the coaches lost their mind. I think one or two of them didn't like that. They had to go, they had to be replaced, or they didn't want to continue there. And they lost their mind because they were trying to tell him, it's not going to work. This isn't going to work. What do you mean you're just going to let them do whatever they want, whatever? And when I heard that, I did have a worry that he would try this similar approach at Manchester United. And the problem with that is I don't even think necessarily in terms of football or in general, I don't think it's a bad thing. The problem is solely at Manchester United because we have a problem with player power. We have a problem with player toxicity. And I was like, if he tries to implement that at Manchester United and they go in that direction, I really don't think it's going to work because of the players that we have, the mentality that they have, and the attitude that they have. I think it's really going to go backwards. So that piece that we were talking about here, where it says face-to-face conversations between the squad and Sir Dave Brailsford is centered on changing the culture at the club, leading players to assume that little bit right there worries me. It worries me. It really does worry me. Chat is going crazy right now. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Axelord, I'm pronouncing your name right. Tuchel won't be able to. Richard saying, I don't like him. If the players think they have it bad with Erik Ten Hag, wait until Tuchel arrives because he falls out with everyone. Oh, I mean, yeah, that was stated in there. It's his where is it? Right here, somewhere. There are concerns over his abrasive nature. Yeah, that's well documented. Which is why these players cannot be catered to, because these players will never be happy. I mean, we had somebody as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, probably, one of the nicest guys that could probably be a manager. Obviously behind closed doors, he had a go at them and stuff like that, but still, compared to other managers, such as like a Tuchel or a Mourinho, he's a very nice man. And what did they end up doing to Solskjaer? At the end, they threw him under the bus. They felt sorry for him, but they really took advantage of him. You can never win with these players. If it's somebody like Mourinho, he's an asshole. We hate him. He's toxic, this and that. If it's somebody like Solskjaer, he's a nice guy, but we don't really respect him. Well, it's like, well, then what the hell do you want in a manager? You're gonna go through every single manager in the game, and you're gonna run out of managers. It's like it's crazy. Axe Lord saying Tuchel won't be able to help the youth grow. Yeah, I probably agree with that. He's not really known for that, you know what I mean? That is Richard saying that's one of his big worries with him. Ray saying one good result, everybody will change his mind about Erik Ten Hag. I mean, it'll definitely be a little bit more positive, but I spend a lot of time online. I spend a lot of time on social media. Just I interact with a lot of, at least they're supposed to be Manchester United fans. And it's not just random people. I follow these people. I know a good amount of them, that the ones that I really pay attention to, and then there's always the random ones that just come and comment. And it really seems like it is very much hitting a point where even the people that were trying to keep some faith behind Erik Ten Hag, even the people that were saying, like Lyle was saying, where they were trying to say, like, listen, let's just see how he does under a proper structure. Even um they are not backing him anymore. Really, it's really hitting a point where he is losing a good amount of even the people that were backing him. And I don't think it's going to get better, because I don't honestly, you look at the fixture list, and if you tell me we don't win a single game in the rest of the fixtures, I'm not surprised. Um, I'm not surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be upset. Um, but it is a very realistic thing that we can go and play the rest of the matches we have and not win a single one of them. Um, and we could get, embarrassed. We could get absolutely obliterated. I'm very, very concerned about the Arsenal match. Um, very, very concerned. I number one, we don't have the players, and number two, I think the mentality and the attitude and just like inside the dressing room, I think it's low. I think it's real low. And that's very concerning. It looks like the players have run out of fight, and it looks like they have given up. Um, and we can get absolutely smacked. I mean, if we're losing 4-0 to Crystal Palace, and Arsenal is literally the first or second best performing team in the Premier League, they can absolutely embarrass us at home. But I could see a 6-0, and I don't want to see a 6-0, but I could see it. Now the only thing that might save us at the end is if we get a couple players back. I know Lisandro Martinez is aiming to be back for the FA Cup final. I don't know what's going on with the centre backs other than Lisandro. We need Rafael Varane. Maguire, I think's out for 3 weeks, so he wouldn't be back till the FA Cup final. I don't think Shaw's making it back. Malacia is definitely not making it back, which is just sucks. There hasn't been an update on Rashford. I expect Bruno to be back, but there hasn't been an update on Bruno. I mean, we need the players to even have a slight chance, Axe Lord saying, the fact that they don't communicate their decision just shows the lack of managerial skills. Sack Ten Hag or support him. Just don't let the stories go wild. But well, that's what I was saying, Axe Lord. I was saying that because it's like, even when Sir Jim bought the club, he said he was going to communicate with the fans a lot more. He said that it was important. And as of right now, I mean, I understand he's got a lot going on right now. And I know he's had meetings with supporter groups inside of Manchester United. But what about the rest of the fans around the world? We're not really getting the utmost communication. And I understand, there's a lot going on right now and a lot of changes are being made. So that might be a plan going forward, and that's not something that needs to be necessarily on the top of the list implemented right now. But I 100% agree that the fact that uh, I think it's one of the things that is causing it's doing more harm than good, because they are letting the stories run wild. And as I said before, it's either because they haven't made a decision, so they really don't know. So it would be almost foolish for them to come out and be like, no, we back Ten Hag, and then 3 weeks from now they sack him and say, well, we're replacing him. I think they're really considering it, and I think they are, because the stories aren't going away that we keep talking to managers. They're letting it run out there. And then the cynical part of me is like, they are letting the stories run out there because they are testing the reaction to the candidates that they have lined up. They want to see, because part of the thing is like they have to do some sort of PR. As I said before, they can't just be like, we want Gareth Southgate, get Southgate in. I mean, technically they could, but I feel like that's not the angle they're going for. They want the fans to support them. They need the fans to support them. They need the fans to back them. It's important to make a good first impression on their part, right? If they really wanted to, they could be like, screw all the fans. We don't give a shit what they think or what they say. Gareth Southgate's our guy. We want Southgate. Go get Southgate. They hire Southgate, and everybody has to deal with that shit and live with it. But I think that's not really the angle they're looking at. I think they're like, listen, we have like 6, 7 candidates. let's just like run a bunch of stories to the press, right? We have high connections to all the journalists, all the media. We just run the stories out. We're looking at this guy, looking at this guy, this guy's linked, this guy's linked, and then we look at the reaction to the managers. Um and then that will be part of our basing on what manager we choose to go with. Um Axel was saying, I still back Ten Hag. His style of football requires players to run a lot. The squad available cannot do that. I also think you're making very good points, um, which was something that I was actually going to say. So I'm going to say it now as soon as I can pull it up. So like Ten Hag, before Manchester United and any team that he pretty much coached was uh he was known for his high pressing, possession based style of play. His teams are structured to maintain control using precise passing and strategic positioning. Um, but when you don't have the personnel that can do those things, it's never going to happen. Um, which is that's why I think it's a valid point, and I think it is sort of unfair. Um, and there was reports that Ineos did state that they were aware that the previous hierarchy pretty much set him up to fail because they didn't help him out in the way that he needed and were not operating correctly, um, which is a huge factor. But at the same time, the things that go against Ten Hag is that I think anytime there's a change like this, Ineos were always going to look to hire their own guy anyway. And I think that might have accelerated a little bit more because the performances and the results have been so poor. I think they would have looked to do it maybe a year from now, especially if we were in a better position. They would have been more happier to just stay with Ten Hag and then replace him going forward after that if he didn't, start going above and beyond. But it hasn't gone that way for him, and unfortunately, I think it's sped up them looking to replace him because they're like, well, actually, we actually have an opportunity right now to do this where we didn't think, even when they took over in January, they didn't really have the opportunity to do that. The fans were like, it was like 80% Ten Hag in. It is way lower now. It is, I would say it's almost like 55% Ten Hag in. I think he is slightly holding on to the majority. And I think, if we don't get a win, if we don't get a good result in the next 2-3 matches, I think that's going to dip under 50% for him. Richard saying, part of our problem is, and I include myself as fans, we are very impatient. However, I have to say that it took Fergie 6 years to sort things out. In fact, in 1989, I was in the stands shouting Fergie out. It's funny when you say it now, you know what I mean? Because of what he went on to do. And, especially for me, like, I wasn't even born yet. But growing up and just watching Fergie and the teams that he made, um, it was always amazing. I always found it amazing that he was so close to losing his job. There was a lot of pressure on him. There was people saying, sack Fergie or Fergie out, and I was just like that always was like crazy to me. Because I was like, every time I seen him, I was like, but this guy is a genius, I was like, he's literally the best. I was like, how the hell was he ever in a position that he almost lost his job? Obviously, I had to go back and like look at things, and but yeah, unfortunately, managers don't get that. They don't get that time anymore. Society has become a lot more impatient throughout the years. Social media, instant gratification, all that. No manager gets more than like 2 seasons anymore, 2-3 seasons, unless you are proven. Like you probably got to be like Ancelotti, Guardiola. And even then, depends what club you're at. Like they might cut it short after 2 seasons, depending on how bad it gets. Lyle saying, one of the things that we really need to address in the summer is the medical department. We need to find out why we had so many injuries and how we are going to fix this. 100%. I think problem with we'll never really get the 100% answer to it. Unfortunately, I think that's just how I feel on it. I think there's probably a couple different factors. Um, it hasn't been reported like this, but I do feel like at some point, there was either the miscommunication between the medical department and Ten Hag, telling him like, how fit the player is and how many minutes they should be able to play and if they're ready to go or not, and him choosing to pick the player because he needs the players. I think Ten Hag is desperate and has been desperate for his main starting 11, like his starters, like Lisandro Martinez and those players. I think he was desperate to get them on the pit. Like as soon as they are available, he wants them to play. He needs them to play. Um, so I don't know if it was he was rushing them back or the medical staff was getting it wrong and telling him, "Hey, this guy can play 60 minutes." And then he's playing him 60 minutes and the guy could not play 60 minutes. He probably could have only played 20 minutes and then they're getting re-injured. I think a big problem with the medical staff is I don't know how to say this without like it seeming not 100%. So I don't think it's like all of the personnel in the medical staff. I think it's the way the medical department runs. I think the people, the key figures in the medical department, the ones that do the sports science and the ones that look at the data, either the model isn't correctly and they are not looking at the correct data and doing the correct sports science, or they're just not good enough and therefore they're just bad at their jobs and they're not like analyzing the data correctly, or they're missing things or stuff like that, or they just don't have like the intelligence or whatever that has to go with that job. um I definitely think one of the things that has led to is it has to be something with the data and it has to be something with the sports science. Something in that area is not being done correctly, which has led to this insane amount of injuries. But at the same time, we have had almost an injury crisis like every single year. I think I did a long thread on Twitter one time, and it was about I looked at every single year after Fergie left, and we have always had some type of an injury crisis. Obviously, the players play a lot more games and all that stuff, but when you look at our injuries and the crises we go through compared to a lot of the other clubs, I mean, Manchester City literally don't suffer like an injury crisis. How? I don't know. Somebody needs to go figure out what the hell they're doing or who they have over there or what they're looking at, because it's like crazy that they constantly play all these matches because they go, they're always in the Champions League. They're always going far in every single cup competition. So they're playing like utmost matches you could possibly play, and they don't suffer injuries. It's like insane. Um, and then you look at us, and it's like we always have like 20 plus injuries. I mean, this season we have 70. It's crazy, but you know, um, yeah, that's something that definitely needs to be sorted out 100%. I know we hired some guy. I think his name is Gary O'Driscoll. He was at Arsenal. He's supposed to be looking at doing a complete like overhaul of the medical department. There hasn't been really any updates for that in like about a month or so. So I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe those changes will come in the summer. Which is actually something I wanted to also talk about. So there is a guy on Twitter. Now I say guy, nobody knows who it actually is. His name is United Insider. Um, this guy works somewhere in Manchester United. It's I'm not just like the fool that has fallen for this. This guy gets like team news leaks, all the big people that do this sort of thing like the YouTube stuff and have connections to other people. Um they know that this guy is credible. He's DM'd them certain things. He's gotten team lineups like an hour, 2 hours before the match. This guy works in Manchester United, or person works in Manchester United somewhere. like where they are getting very like credible and clear information. And so this guy, he decided that he is going to retire his account at the end of this season, because he said that he doesn't, his name on Twitter, if anybody has Twitter, it's Insider UTD1. You could go look at his tweets. So he stated April 9th, I only ever intended to do this for one season. I've decided that's the case with a new era and a new structure, hopefully starting at United. I believe that they should be given every opportunity to succeed, and that includes leaks that can be seen as unhelpful. End of the season, I'm out. So he's going to retire this account once this season is over, which is not far from now. But he put out a tweet, I think it was like a day or two ago, and he wrote, "United family, I promise you things will get better. Ineos are going to improve the way we do everything. They are planning big changes, and I believe they will get us back competing with the big boys. I've not lied to you yet." So this guy is claiming that he knows what Ineos are planning, and he is saying that Ineos are planning big changes, big changes. And I don't think he's saying that lightly. I think he's meaning that the changes that are coming are going to be huge. And they're going to be things that have needed to happen at this club for a long time. Somebody actually went on to say to him, can you please stay beyond this season? You're so your insights are always well thought out and regarded to the overall picture of the club. And he said, I appreciate it, but I want the new era to have every chance of success. Leaks are seen as negative and unhelpful. I don't want to be any of them things. I just want to be a fan again. So, this guy, and I've been following this guy for quite some time, and he literally has like, when there's a player out injured, like he already knows like a couple days before the match, but like this guy is on point. Like he is a real in the know. He's not like one of these fake guys. So that I found that interesting today when I read that, and I was like, well, he said big changes are coming, so let's see. He wouldn't delve into that. A couple people asked him, is it the manager, is it that, and he didn't specify, but you know, it is what it is. Chat is saying, Ray saying Liverpool last year had injuries and they was falling mid-table, till they made a run at the end of the season. Yeah, they made the run at the end of the season when their players came back. But they didn't even have. I mean, they did have a good amount of injuries, but as you see this year, right, that was like a one-off year for Liverpool, right? They had like ridiculous injury crisis going on. It got really bad at one point, and they fell off. But this year they've had injuries. Every club gets injuries, but it wasn't as bad, and it wasn't worse than the one that they had last season. It improved. But us, it's always bad. It's always bad. I encourage you, if you have time, just go and look at the injury record we have from like 2013 to 2024. It is crazy. And you know what's one of the saddest things? Because when I made this thread, I actually didn't realize I just got all of the information and I copy pasted and I put it on Twitter and let the fans discuss. And it wasn't until after, because people were replying to what I posted about the injuries, and I didn't realize, but everybody kept pointing it out, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is actually crazy. And it's sad because I like this guy, and I think he's very useful and very good. But they were like, dude, Luke Shaw has not completed a single season in that time. I don't think he's ever completed a single season since he came to Manchester United. He has always gotten injured, and he has always been out for a lengthy period of time in every single season. And I actually almost didn't believe it, because I was looking through it and I was like, holy shit, every single season this guy gets injured, and every single season he misses a ton of games. And I was like, I didn't even realize that it was literally every single season from 2013 to 2024. I was like, I know he suffered a bad injury here. He broke his was it his leg, his ankle, or whatever it was, right? And I know he misses a game, couple games here and there, but I didn't realize it was that bad. And it's really unfortunate because I like Luke Shaw, and I think Luke Shaw is actually a valuable player when he's fit. But at the same time, it's like you can't really have that. You can't really have that because it's like you're going. He's our starting left back, and you know he's going to get injured, and you know he's going to miss a bunch of games. Um, so I think also the left back position is something that we need to look at. Like I wouldn't necessarily get rid of Shaw, but knowing Shaw's injury history and record, you would almost have to get, in my opinion, you would have to get a left back that would be the starter, and Shaw could be the backup. Maybe if he plays less games, it would decrease his chance of getting injured. I mean, I don't even know if that would work. Maybe he would still get injured, and then we would be without a backup. But you know, um, everybody's saying, fight saying, so sick of the manager talk. To be honest, the more we talk, the more it feels like we'll sack Erik Ten Hag to bring a laundry in. Lyle saying, well, Ronaldo said Carrington's technology is from 2008. Maybe that's why we have so many injuries. That could be also another thing. Yeah, 100%. Um, I think everybody believes it. Ray's leaving. Ray, we'll see you later. Take care. Have a good night. Lyle also saying the leg break messed him so badly. Such a shame because he has flare ups. Yeah, but it's he also has like different, it's like different injuries, you know what I mean? Like I understand like, the leg break was a really bad and unfortunate thing, but if you look at the type of injuries he's had, it's always something different as well. It's not even necessarily to that leg. It's all different stuff. It's pretty crazy. Um and what else we saying? Ray's out of here. We'll see you later, Ray. And that is why Lyle's saying, and that is why I don't understand why Tellers and Regulon is not in the squad. Well, the Regulon one was kind of was well. See, what happened with Regulon was that I'm pretty sure, as we were mentioning before, from what we understand, Erik Ten Hag was told that Malacia and Luke Shaw would both be back January, end of January. So I think in his head, he was like, hey, I'm going to have two left backs available again. So we don't really need Regulon. So he let him go back. But then obviously they both had setbacks. And then, Shaw came back, but then got re-injured and whatever. And he was out again for a lengthy period of time. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Like I don't know if the people that were viewing the data and the stuff on their fitness levels was like, nah, they should be good end of January. Like they just keep making this progress. They must have missed something. These guys had suffered injury setbacks and then they were out for even longer because they progressed to doing some sort of a physical activity that they weren't actually ready for, or the workload was too much for them and they ended up re-injuring themselves or suffering a different type of injury because they were not fit enough, which was a bad thing. Richard saying that's true about Shaw. He's very injury prone. In his defense, our team is better when he plays. No, yeah, we definitely miss him, and I wish he was able to stay fit all the time because I think he is important to us on the left hand side, 100%. Axe Lord saying also, what is going on with Malacia? Is he injured, depressed, or what? So from my understanding, Malacia has been injured. He had some type of a crazy, I believe it was a knee injury. Let me see. I'm just gonna look it up because, so this was March 15th, 2024. Malacia has not played for United since undergoing surgery on knee injury last summer. In fact, the 24-year-old fullback hasn't featured for the Reds since May 28, 2023. So so that's what it was. So he had to get surgery. He had a knee injury and he had to get surgery. and he got the surgery. But then on his way to recovering from the after the surgery, he has suffered numerous different setbacks, which has caused him to not be available. It seems like he's picking up. I don't know if it's injuries from the because they haven't specified. I don't know if it's injuries from the knee or he's picking up different injuries because he was unable to to do his thing while he was out from the surgery. So that's the thing, which is just unbelievable that happened to him. Because we definitely could have used him, and it could have been his breakout. It could have been his breakout season. Could have been his moment because Shaw has been missing for a while, and if Malasi was healthy, he obviously would be playing, and maybe it would have just helped him further on his development, and maybe we would have been like, Malasia has to be the starter going forward, or he could have had a terrible time, but we'll never know because it didn't happen. Um, I get that, but my thinking, Lyle saying my thinking is Reguilon was on loan, and we had no other agreement beyond the season or the Jan window. We should have kept him. No, we should have kept him. 100%. I think it was a mistake. I think it was a mistake. We even had Alvaro Fernandez. Now whether he was good enough or not, it's pretty much that was something that didn't make sense to me either. Clearly it was mistakes all over the place. I think it was a mistake to just be like, no, we have two left backs and we'll be fine. Also, the information relayed probably to the manager about the fitness of the players, I think was also not correct, which led to the poor decision as well. I think the whole thing was just wrong. We got it totally wrong, totally wrong. Um, and there's no way. There's no way because now we've been without a left back for forever, and it's crazy. Now we don't even have a backup right back because our backup right back is playing left back, and he is not comfortable on that side. So, it's just. Richard said they gave him the wrong operation. Yeah. There was something. It was weird. It was weird like that. Axel Lord saying, "Trust me, we need a few new people: doctors, physical preparation specialists, and psychologists." Yeah, probably, most likely, we definitely just like everything else. Just like everything else in the club, I think we need better people in better positions. People were probably just cruising through life at their job because they weren't really being held accountable for certain things. And they're probably very, very, if anything, they're average at their job. You know, and they were just getting away with it for a long time because the Glazers didn't really care. Uh, they had Richard Arnold in charge, and they only cared about their money. So definitely need to look into all that. And I think that will come once we actually get the hierarchy in place. Obviously, we're still waiting for Dan Ashworth. I think once he comes in and everybody comes together and can actually start working, and is working, then I think we will start seeing those type of changes coming. Lyle saying same knee, two surgeries is what I read somewhere. Yeah, there's been like different reports, and his injury is just they didn't address the full problem when he was under the knife. Yes, I remember reading that. That was recent. They said that. That was recent. They said that, which is another thing that is absolutely crazy. I mean, they did it to Lisandro as well. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it happened to Lisandro as well. But Lisandro had some type of he had his surgery, and they messed that shit up too. Which is I just don't understand how things like that are happening. Like how are the club not looking after the players and making sure that like they are being taken care of and looked after properly? It doesn't make sense. Literally doesn't make sense. Yeah, same with Martinez. He had surgery, which didn't address the issue. Then he went under the knife again. Then his knee. This is what I'm saying. Like it makes my head want to explode when you like actually look at the reality, and that this is not made up. Like that this is actually real. That has actually happened. My head wants to explode because it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm just like it drives me nuts. I don't get it. I don't understand how this club, how is this happening at Manchester United? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, if this was any other business, they would be sacked. 100%. 100%. If it was any other business, all of them would be out of jobs. And if they weren't out of jobs, the business would have went under and they would have went bankrupt. Like one or the other, you know what I mean? let's get to this section real quick because this has gone on long enough. And I want to get to this part that I didn't get to. There was a slight transfer rumors, updates. Manchester United are weighing up paying Gleason Bremer's 51.5 million release clause. He is a center back at Juventus. Manchester United are interested in signing Fulham center back Tosin Adarabioyo. I cannot pronounce this guy's name. This summer. He is out of contract at Craven Cottage at the end of the season and could move to Old Trafford on a free transfer. That one's slightly interesting. Then there was the Greenwood update here that says at least 2 Premier League clubs are interested in signing 40 million rated Mason Greenwood this summer, and I would be absolutely 110% against selling Mason Greenwood to any Premier League club. Absolutely not. If you're gonna sell him, sell him. If you're not gonna sell him, bring him back. But if you're gonna sell him, you sell him to a team outside of this country, outside of the Premier League. Also, Harry Maguire, set to leave Manchester United in the summer transfer window. That's coming out of the Manchester Evening News. And Everton reportedly want 80 million for Jared Brentwaite, who is coming from Nazar Kinzella, which I'm not really familiar with, but apparently he's credible enough to be quoted and his stuff taken, seriously. Chat saying, Axe Lord saying this season is like a nightmare. Had it been a dream, we would have woken up because of the horror. Awoken. Yeah, no, 100%. It's more of a nightmare because it's reality. You know what I mean? Well, I would take either Gelson or Toyson over Brentwood. Well, I think in terms of that, it would have to be you're gonna get Tosin in, right? Because if he's a free transfer, that's free, right? So you're gonna get Tosin in, and then it would be between Bremer and Brentwaite. The problem with Brentwaite is that he cost 80 million. And I don't think we're actually in a position to be spending 80 million on a player. Now, if Maguire going would be bittersweet because his resurgence this season is commendable. No, I think here's my stance, and it's nothing like on a personal thing on Harry Maguire. Maguire has done absolutely great this season. His resurgence, as you said, has been commendable. The way he's carried himself, I applaud him. And I respect the guy a lot more because I criticized the crap out of him. And it got to a point where it was getting really toxic. Even from my point now, I didn't cross any line, but I just started to really hate the guy. In terms of because I was like, you play really crap. You come out, you do all this PR. I don't want to hear from you. I just want to see the fucking performance on the pitch. And he kept coming out and doing PR and doing PR and doing PR. And I really wanted him to leave the club. He didn't leave the club. And obviously he's had the season that he's had. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's had the season that he had. I'm happy that he's turned around. And I respect him for the way that he's handled himself because actually, when you look at things like this, for all the claims of the players' poor attitude, not having the right mentality, not being Manchester United players, not having, he actually is one of the players that is not grouped in there because of everything that he was getting crazy amount of abuse. Not criticism, but abuse. Like he was getting legitimately abused for a good period of time. And he just always pretty much basically maybe like one or two instances where it kind of crept in a little bit, but he's carried himself very well. So I respect Maguire for that. But the thing is, I think Maguire has to go. And solely for the fact of that he is 30. And I think if you don't move him on this summer, you really lose the opportunity to move him on. What if he doesn't have as good as a season next season? Um, you could probably get a decent fee for him now. He's played very well. Um, and it's just his age too. Like, once then he'll be 31. He'll be a step closer to being, what's that age where they cut you off and they say you're too old. Um, and if we're gonna do the rebuild and we're gonna, build for the future, then we need to bring in these younger players. And I think it's just an opportunity to move on. You know what I mean? But it would nothing personal. You know what I mean? Maguire reminds me of Ashley Young under Moyes. He was horrible, but LVG brought a solid player out, and he was solid until he left. Um, yeah. Uh, but I really at the end. I really hated Ashley Young because he wasn't that him playing that left back really pissed me off. At the end, because I was like, dude, you gotta go. It's over for you here. And it's like he was getting beat and all sorts of shit. I was just like, bro, please just go. But that's a difference. Cashing in wouldn't be a bad idea, to be honest. Richard saying, so do I, because while I think De Gea was better than Onana, I think David needed to move. Well, yeah, but that's what I always see. My whole thing with David was that I think David did need to go at some point. I think I wasn't even against it that he went, right, because I like David De Gea, and I'm not one of these people. The online fans or the people on Twitter, I don't want to say online fans, but people on Twitter are very, very disrespectful. I mean, I literally seen somebody post a fucking compilation of David De Gea mistakes that somebody put together that is a fucking hour and a half long. And that shit is disgusting. I'm like, bro, you guys are still putting this shit up. He hasn't even been our goalkeeper for a fucking season. Matthew Camilleri, yes I am. But I'm American born. So I can read some Maltese, I could speak some Maltese. But I was born here. Um and yeah, it was absolutely fucking disgusting though. The way the shit that I seen, and it was a very large Twitter account. So disrespectful. I mean, listen, I understand. Guy made mistakes, and maybe it was his time to go. But I was like, I hate that narrative. I'm like, dude, if you clipped up all the shit that he saved, that he was never supposed to save, the points that he saved us, the unbelievable saves that he made, I was like, it would be quadruple the amount of time that fucking hour and a half montage of just bashing a fucking goalkeeper who saved our asses in multiple seasons on numerous occasions. And I was like, and these guys are still doubling down. And I'm like, so you're going at De Gea, and then these guys are also criticizing the shit out of Onana. And I'm like, bro, you can't win with these people. It's like, who are you and who do you actually support? Because, like, I don't understand. Like, do you support this club? Like, what? Or are you just pretending? It's crazy. Um, Lyle saying De Gea needed to leave, but on much better terms. The way he left was super sad. Yeah, it just that happens in life. Unfortunately, some things just always don't go the way that they should be or supposed to be. Right. Axe Lord saying De Gea has problems with his eyes. Probably top keeper anyway. Yeah, maybe he does. I've never heard that. Matthew Camilleri saying you just earned a new subscriber, mate. Keep it up. Thank you. Appreciate you, fellow Maltese brother. Actually going to Malta in June. I will be there. June, I think 18th. I'm arriving. I'm gonna be there for quite some time, which is actually something I wanted to let you guys know. So I'm gonna be going vacation from where my parents are from. It's a small tiny island. It's called Malta. They're a country right under Sicily. If you're not familiar, all my family lives there. I usually go every summer. I'm going for quite some time. I'm going for 2 months. I have lots of friends there, and the thing is, I am going to try and to continue and do like transfer updates throughout the summer because I want to do the transfer updates as well. So I'm going to be making videos. I will try to find a time to go live we're not going to have this beautiful background. It's probably going to be like some type of a bedroom or a living room. I hope that doesn't matter too much. And also the time difference is going to be off because obviously where I live here, um, right now it is 6:30 p.m. and they are 6 hours ahead, so it is actually past midnight over there. So the timing of the videos and the schedule might be messed up. So we'll see how the live goes. If the lives aren't living as they usually are right now, then maybe I'll just resort to making like short 10-minute videos that I pre-record and then put them up. Um, but I just want to give you guys that heads up to that. Um, and we have a fellow, I have a fellow Maltese brother here that came in here and is now a subscriber. Lyle saying Ponytail De Gea would have been a trilogy long. I mean, yeah, uh, it it is what it is. But out of these guys, uh, anybody have any more? Anybody have anything on Greenwood? I know there's fairly a lot of people that want him to come back. I think, I, I personally think, and this is just me formulating an opinion, basically, almost out of nothing. It's almost out of vibes, pretty much, which seems to be frowned upon by people out there in the world, but I don't care. Um, I feel like what happened with Mason was that he was very desperate to come back into the Manchester United team. I think he was sort of scared and afraid, and probably even angry that he kind of just lost his spot at Manchester United and that he wasn't going to get the opportunity to come back. I think he first originally wanted to stay in England. I think he was very reluctant to leave England. I think he wanted to stay. Um, I think what has happened is because he got loaned out. I know he's a touchy subject, but because he's got loaned out, um, I think he's realized that hey, I actually don't feel like that anymore. Spain is nice. I'm enjoying my time over here. Maybe he likes the culture. Maybe he likes where he's living right now. Maybe his life feels better. And I kind of feel like he's not really too interested in coming back to Manchester United or to the UK for that fact. I could be wrong, but it's just kind of the vibe that even like the little interviews he's given, he seems like he's really enjoying himself over there. And that wasn't really the case when it was like, oh, we're gonna bring him back or not. So I kind of feel like maybe he doesn't even want to be back, right? He doesn't even want to be back. So a lot of people online, like I see a lot of people, they want him back. I see a lot of people, touchy subject, that don't want him back. They have any of their numerous reasons, and I respect that. But they're always like, the people that want him back, they're always like, bring my guy back, bring him back, bring him back. And it's like, hey, you ever stop and think that maybe the guy doesn't want to come back anymore? Maybe he doesn't want to deal with the abuse that he would obviously receive coming back to the UK. Um, Maybe he doesn't want to do that. Maybe he wants to stay in Spain. So, it's unfortunate that a talent like that and the decisions he made and the things and that whole thing that transpired, it's unfortunate because it could have went on to had a really really bright and amazing future at Manchester United, and I think we've gone completely past that. And it seems like to me it's one of those players that it's just like, don't go backwards, just move on. He hasn't played for us in a while. There's no point. It's like going back to your ex after not being with them for like a year or something. Like it's just like we've already been apart. Why are we going backwards? Let's just both move forward. And obviously, things didn't work out for whatever reasons. And let's just go in different direction. Um, Lyle saying Greenwood, touchy subject as much as I like him, but he shouldn't return to United or the EPL. Richard saying I wouldn't have him back. And Lyle saying, for me, the fans are going to crucify him, and I don't want to see that. Let him continue his rehabilitation in Spain. Yeah, but that's also why I was saying, like, even the part where it was mentioned that, here, where it's saying that at least two Premier League clubs are interested in signing Greenwood. I e- even if he went to another Premier League club. Like I've seen the things that like the UK fans chant and shit at games. I also know how the UK press works. And it don't matter if he comes back to Manchester United or not. I feel like anywhere he goes in the Premier League or the UK, it will be a very, very rough and hard time for him. Like he will not fucking um he will not, because I don't think he's getting that over in Spain. I think he's fairly just, living a normal football life. I don't think he's getting abused. I think if he comes back to the UK, I think the papers are going to be running stories about him. They're going to hit him hard. I think the fans, doesn't even matter what fans, the opposing opposition for whatever team he would end up playing for, I think they're going to fucking, go after him very hard. I think he's going to find it very difficult and very hard. And, that's why I think he might not want to even come back. For sure. Um, and Brentwaite, what I was saying before, I think I mentioned it, slightly, that, he's gonna cost 80 million. I don't think we are actually in a position to be spending 80 million, on one player. We don't really have the money unless we sell a crap ton of players and we can get another 100 million, because as far as I understand right now, we have 100 million to spend. So if we have 100 million to spend, we can't buy Brentwaite, who's going to cost 80, because then we have 20, and who are we signing? Especially with the sentiment that many of us would say we need to bring in like 5, 6 players, or more. Some people would bring in a whole 11 if they could. Um, so I don't actually think we're in the position to be spending that type of money. I don't really want us to do it. I think one player at like maybe 50, 60 million, um, I think that's okay. But I really do think that we need to spread the money out. I think we need to look for very good deals. Players with high potential that are young, 21, 22, 23, that aren't going to cost us 80 something million. Um, there's players available for 25, 30, 35. There's deals to be made. And that way we can build a proper squad and a proper structure. Just in a structure in terms of like a squad structure, because I feel like we're very much so lacking that. That's something that we discussed in the Red Devil experience, the Red Devil recap. I'm sorry. After the match, is that like we just have a bunch of individuals. We don't really have a team. We don't have a real team that go together. Um, so I feel like to get a real team that goes together, we probably have to not do these marquee signings that we've been doing for 12 plus years. We really need to buy quality and find good deals and get players, and especially it would help us out anyway, because it's like, dude, listen, if you sign a player for 30 million, 35 million, and let's say they flop, you're not taking a massive loss. It doesn't really matter if they flop. If you sign the player for 30, like if they're 23 years old or 22 or 21, and you sign them for 35 million and they flop, you're not losing a massive amount of money. You could probably still sell them for 20, 25 million. And then it's okay. And then it's easier to move them on because they're still considered to have potential. They're still young. Um, it's just better all around. It's a better, smarter way to do deals. So I think I think that's the way we need to move. I don't know what Ineos really plan to do. We will obviously find out, but Ravel Morrison was the same. Could have been a superstar. Yeah, he had his own issues, and it's unfortunate that that shit does happen to players and people, and there's numerous examples of stuff like that, and it's really really a shame because they are in a place. I'm not saying they are privileged, but they're in a place of privilege, of like where like millions of people around the world would give a leg, an arm, an ear to be in a position that they're in. And sometimes it's out of their hands, sometimes it's based on their own actions and decisions. It's just, it's life, man. Life can be cruel, life can be beautiful. That's what makes the world go round, right? If it was always beautiful, it'd be boring. And if it was always cruel, we'd probably be bored of it too. Um, and there wouldn't be anything really to look forward to. That's why you always have to have the ups and downs, highs and lows. What makes the world go round, I guess. Lyle saying he completely forgot about Ravel Morrison. Well, there you go. Richard Hawking saying, especially because we didn't qualify for Champions League. Well, yeah. If we qualified for Champions League, we would have definitely had more money available, and then we could have maybe made at least one more key signing. In terms of like high wages and stuff like that. But now really it's going to come down to player sales, which I think is actually even better for us. Like listen, missing Europe, right, might be some sort of a blessing in disguise. Solely for the fact of that, like, now technically because we're going to have less money, right? The pressure is on and we still need to get money. So the pressure is on to get funds from sales. And if the pressure is on to get funds from sales, then they need to really make sure that they get that money. Whereas like let's say we had the extra 50 million and we had 150 million, maybe they would have been less reluctant to sell 1, 2, or 3 players here or there, whatever. Whereas like now they might sell a player that they might have not sold. Like they might sell a Scott McTominay where they might have kept him. I don't know. Just as an example. Maybe even Harry Maguire, for example, or anybody really. It might be a blessing in disguise for us. It really might. It really might. Unfortunately, as much as I obviously want Manchester United to be in Europe and performing and playing in the Champions League, we are just not there. We need to start from somewhere. We need to, we need to just relax and start from somewhere and start properly. Start properly. We never actually started properly. I mean, all the times that we had rebuilds on the whoever the Glazers put in charge, they were never proper rebuilds. It was all mostly full of shit, and it didn't really have any direction. And this is what I'm looking for from Ineos. I want to see like a solid plan, and that plan be built using a solid foundation to go forward in a direction that is fits the modern era and has a good just all around plan pretty much going forward. Richard saying Juventus say that they are keen on Mason, so maybe a swap deal. Oh, interesting. I actually didn't piece that. No, I saw that, but I didn't piece that together. That would be very interesting. That would be good. That would actually be a pretty good deal, actually. If we swapped Mason Greenwood for Bremer, that would probably be pretty good. Yeah. I mean, swaps don't normally happen too often. Which I don't know why. Probably because it's hard to do. You need to get both players to agree and this and that. But listen, if he wants to go or he's interested in going to Juventus and Bremer is okay coming with us, then I don't see why they couldn't do a swap deal. That would actually be very good. And this is why we love the chat, because they put stuff like that, which didn't cross my mind, but that was excellent point by Richard. 100%. Lyle saying, I agree with that missing out in Europe might be good, especially for Ineos as well. A proper rebuild out of the spotlight, so to speak. Yeah. And Axel saying the next UCL season is going to put some different pressure on the teams because of the new format. We may get a lot of resting time because of it. I'm actually happy. Well, I'll say happy. I don't think happy is the right word. I'm actually very interested in the new format. I think the new format is going to be very exciting, and I'm actually very disappointed that we're not part of the first ever like new format. It looks crazy. It looks nuts, and I like the aspect of the fact that like there's no more that group where you're stuck in just a group and you play home and away. I think it makes it far more interesting that everybody is playing. Listen, these are the teams you draw, and you play one match. Like if you get Bayern Munich, and you have to play them Bayern Munich home, that's the match. You don't get to play them at your home, and that's it. And then you move on. And the games I think come very interesting coming up, and I'm highly disappointed that we're not going to be part of that because I think it's going. I think it's going to make the Champions League even more interesting, and the fact that we're not going to be a part of it at all disappoints me very much. I'm very upset because I would be watching that and I would be wishing my team was a part of it the whole time, and they're not going to be. But hopefully, if we do what we need to do, in this summer, and we build a proper structure or at least a proper foundation, we can at least work our way towards being back in that competition. And hopefully, if it goes well enough, we can get into it the season after. So, Lyle saying swap deals is a bad look. LOL. Thanks to Mkhitaryan Sanchez deal. Wow, bad business 101. Yeah. Got well. That didn't work out very well, did it? Boy. Um, yeah, but I guess it depends all who you swap for too, right? How long have we been live for? An hour and a half. We're probably gonna end it there. I think it was very good discussion. I'm actually happy that everybody was in here. Because I did this sort of late, and this is usually later than I do it in my time. But you guys have all been available, and you guys all joined, and I'm very happy that this actually went very good because I was kind of concerned that nobody was going to turn up because I didn't know the times essentially, um, like the time difference because I usually do something around 2, 3, or 4 o'clock my time, or earlier in the morning, and this is sort of later for me, which is okay for me. It actually works better for me. I did post in the community, which I don't think anybody really seen, but if you want, it helps me out. So in the community tab under our profile, under the channel page, there's a community tab. And if you go to the community tab, I made a post on it's a poll. I think it's still up. I don't think it like went away. If it did, then you could just leave a comment underneath it. But I put it out because I wanted to see what times would be best for our viewers because I'm trying to get some type of a schedule, and I want you guys to be able to be involved in this as much as possible. So I just put like a list of times that would work best just to gauge kind of like, where everybody would be. And if you could take the time to go in there and either just, vote or write it under the comment if the thing is closed, that'd be very helpful because that way I can just know or just get a general sense of feeling about that. Because during the week, the episodes or the shows really go based on what kind of news we get, and if it's like sort of a dead day or the news is kind of crap, um I almost feel like it's almost a little bit of a waste of everybody's time to talk about things that are not really pressing or interesting, or but then there's days where like the news absolutely explodes and it's like you almost can't keep up with it, and then it's like, well, we need to go live to talk about this, so it kind of just goes off of a schedule. But I do want to try and create some sort of a schedule. Obviously, we always do the Red Devil recap after the matches, but that will be ending soon because the season is almost over, and then it'll be sort of almost more randomish. But if I could try and find maybe like 1 or 2 days where we do like a nightly show like this, or for me it would be a nightly show, that would be fantastic. Um, so if you guys do that for me, that would be great. Richard saying, well, in order to escape from Manchester United, I'm going to Belfast City Centre tomorrow night to see the boss himself, Mr. Bruce Springsteen. Oh, I thought you were going to say Marcus. Rashford. No, it was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. um, we'll see you later, Axel. Axel Lord. We'll see you later. I hope you subscribe so you come back later. Have a good night, buddy. Take care. Lyle saying You're going to have a field day this summer. Expect some fireworks. Oh, yeah. That's going to be very interesting for me. Because obviously I'm new to this, and also, like I said, I'm going on vacation. The time difference is going to be more towards Europe anyway. So the news should cycle, but you know, I'm also gonna be like out with friends and partying, so it's gonna be very hard to. I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm gonna give it my best, and I'm gonna try and do it as good as possible. And we'll see how it goes, and we'll make adjustments along the way. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in. I greatly appreciate you. Love you, chat. I love everybody that is in here. Very, very good discussion as always. Community keeps getting better, keeps getting stronger. We're getting people here. I mean, when I first started back in November, nobody was watching. I couldn't even do a live because I didn't have any fans. Not fans. I didn't have any community members. And now we're getting people to tune in on a regular basis, which is something I absolutely love. So thank you guys. And thank you for smashing the like button. I see the likes on there. Um, Greatly appreciated. And obviously you're all subscribers by now, so we thank you for that. Anybody watching that isn't a subscriber, please subscribe. We would love you to be part of this community. Today is Wednesday, right? Or for me, it's Wednesday. For you, it could be Thursday. So we will look to do something. I'll probably do a match preview. Erik Ten Hag statements before the match against Arsenal at the weekend. I'll probably do it the day before the match. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, if anything, obviously if anything breaks, anything major crazy, like the manager somehow gets sacked, which I don't think he's gonna get sacked, um, or anything like that, we will obviously go live for that. So there might be some random stream that pops up. You never know. Um, but other than that, thank you guys. Have a good night, a good morning, good evening from wherever you're watching, wherever you are. Everybody take care, stay safe, because we want to see you back here again. Take care of yourselves. Be good. Lyle telling me I'm on the right path, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot. And I hope I am, because sometimes I feel like I'm sort of just, winging it. Which I feel like you kind of got to do. But notification bell is on. That is the most important. So you do know when we go live. That's the best thing ever. Richard saying thanks, man. Thanks, guys. Everyone have a good one. Glory, glory. Absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic show. Love you all. Thank you for being here. And we will catch you on the next one. Enjoy yourselves. Be good. Again, take care of yourselves. Please look after yourselves and just be safe. And we'll catch you on the next one. You're doing good. Notifications on. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. You guys are really, 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 really great. Love it. Love it. Love it. You make me happy. Thank you. Thank you. Catch you on the next one.